for decades, I've been having discussions with people in the community with which I once affiliated, the ultra-Orthodox world, about a midrash on the subject of the exile, of the exodus from Egypt. So the Psalm 114, we were looking at that yesterday, which talks about the Exodus, provides an occasion for the midrash, the sages, the rabbis, Chazal, to think about, well, what did this miracle, what did it mean? What was the nature of this miracle? So it's a long midrash. It starts with Moses waving, putting his rod out over the sea, and him failing, that somehow the power of Moses as a leader was, or whatever he was representing at that moment, was not enough. The Midrash goes on to say that God lent his hand to Moses. So it's not just the lawgiver, but the law as given by the divine, that it says in the Psalm, the God of Jacob, that God, the God, and that God allows for a kind of law which is different. Other kinds of laws will not settle the seas. And that the seas are the forces resistant to law. Anyway, so the waters split. In the midst of this discussion, the Midrash brings a verse from Shemot. The waters split, and the Midrash goes on to Doresh, to explain that it does not say the sea split, but rather the waters split, to teach that all the waters that were in all the springs and the well in every place were split, as was said. The waters were split. Now, what is this Midrash describing, and how do we learn it? What are we to learn from it? I'm asking because, and this is the aspect of this psalm or this midrash that played an important part in my life. I mean, I heard many lectures reported to me about how this must be taken literally. It's not, it literally happened. And this becomes a kind of litmus test for faith. If you believe that it literally happened, then you're faithful. If you don't believe that it literally happened, then there's something kind of wrong about your faith. Meaning, if you had greater faith, you would really believe this. It's true, it's very, very hard to believe, but it says, and if you had greater faith in the sages, you would believe it. We have greater faith in the sages by understanding that they use words in a non-literal manner. The Tehillim, the Psalms, the voice of David, the voice of the psalmist, is not to get you to go out and check statistically what ponds opened and what didn't, and to check in your refrigerator to see if the pitcher of water, did that happen also? Because if you go that far, somebody's going to say, we have to believe that as well. The Psalms, like every other work, is teaching, every other great work. Great works teach you how to read them and also to read beyond them. The Midrash is the classic example of this, because it is it teaches you how to read. And this Midrash is not telling you to check and see if everything happened. It's saying this was an event of cosmological significance. This was an event of metaphysical significance. And yeah, I mean, this is a case in which the vehicle of the metaphor, it doesn't dissolve, but it takes a back seat. It definitely takes a back seat, and we are to imagine the extent to which this moment in history, and the Psalm refers to, as we said before, the God of Jacob, you think this might be a minor event in the life of a family and its descendants leaving in Egypt, but no, it's not that. It is of world historical importance. I think I just quoted Hegel, right? It's important for everyone. So what gets lost? I mean, why this bothered me for so long is because I was failing the litmus test. And I felt, because I was failing the litmus test, that I lacked faith. And it's important for me today to speak about this because I think it's exactly the opposite. It's our faith in language, our faith in the poetic character of language, the poetic character of language that is not claiming a one-to-one relationship to something. Anything that claims a one-to-one relationship with something is going to be problematic because no words can describe this set of glasses properly, maybe, let alone the divine, meaning words are always going to fail in some sense, certainly in relationship to the divine. And I don't even want to say the divine, I want to say the sacred. So the sacred is not the activity of saying, oh my God did all of those things. I don't know how he did it. The sacred activity is learning to read past the literal. We can't, as teachers, give as a legacy a Judaism that makes no sense, or a Judaism that solves or that accords with the criteria of modern science. I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that you have these ultra-Orthodox people who are using this very scientific and realistic conception of truth, which is totally non-existent in the Chazal, the Rishonim, the Achronim, whatever. It's just not there, right? That we don't think of truth as something which is found through scientific experimentation. We believe in the encounter with the real, but our thing is we don't really believe fully in the real. We believe always, and this does not make me a relativist, we believe that our ability to understand the language that we use, sacred character of Hebrew, the language that we use somehow can get to something beyond itself. Any, let a great artist that embodies this in practice, Rembrandt, right? Rembrandt is the painter who says, if you think you want to if you're looking at this literally, you're not seeing my painting. If you look at a metaphor, or if you, such as this, literally, your world becomes circumscribed by the literal. You are in the very moment of trying to be religious, living a life of passivity. And that's the time of this year, Erev Shvi Shel Pesach, the holiday that nobody really cares about, but it really is the holiday of the Jews choosing to take their destiny in their own hands. And I mean, and that destiny is, paradoxically, the faith in the divine. But they have the courage to go forward. They have the courage to cross the sea. They have the courage to leave Egypt. So it's the holiday of autonomy, and autonomy starts with a reading. Whew.